podcast. I'm your host, Mark Tebbett, filming from Tamworth Sports Bar, as per usual. Today, I'm really delighted to introduce my guest, Nigel Bond, the 1995 World Championship runner-up, 1996 British Open champion, and the former world number 5. So this should be a good interview. How are you doing, Nigel? You all right?
Yeah, very well. Thank you, Mark.
Excellent.
Thank you for having me on.
No, thank you for saying that you'd do it. So we'll start at the beginning, which is always the best place to start. How did your snooker journey begin?
Probably a little bit like most kids, really. You know, got the Christmas present, the small 6x4 table, and from that moment on, just loved the game. My dad played local league snooker. He was sort of a decent standard. His ice break was 85. He sort of showed me the basics, you know, stance, grip, bridge, etc. And from then on, I just played, you know. And I don't think, and if you love something, it's not a chore to play it. It's you know, it's just something you love, and you know, I was been fortunate, you know, to turn something what was a hobby, you know, into a career.
Yeah. So did you play a lot on the amateur circuit before you turned pro? Did you enter all like the pro-am events?
Yeah, and obviously, you know, during the 80s, mid 80s, you know, snooker was booming. You know, it was top 16 on the TV, etc. Clubs opening up all the way up and down the country, and you could basically pick and choose pro-ams, you know, where you wanted to play in the country on any weekend. You know, there was always 2 or 3 and good top prizes, you know, £1,000. So, you know, 35 years ago, it was a lot of money if you won one of those.
Yeah. So how did you turn professional? Was it 1992 you turned professional?
No, I turned professional in 1989.
Oh, okay.
So basically, 1992 was when they opened the game up.
Right.
And I think the good thing, obviously, turning pro in 89, you had basically it was 10 in, 10 out. So there was 8 spots through the pro ticket tournaments.
Yeah.
Or you won the English amateur, or you won the world amateur. And although I qualified through the pro ticket events, I also won the English Amateur Championship that year as well.
Okay.
Beat Barry Pinches in the final 13-11 in Bradford, and he'd won it the year previously. So 89 I turned professional. But like I said, back then it was 10 in, 10 out.
Okay, so it was very small compared to what it is.
It was a very much of a closed shop, really. You know, at least nowadays, the tour is still 128, but there are more. Obviously, the game has become more global, hasn't it? So there's a lot more pathways, if you like, to turn professional. You know, whether it be World Amateur, WSF, Q Tour, Q School, European Champion, two invites from, you know, the top 2 Chinese amateurs. So there's a lot more pathways, and obviously, you know, there's more opportunities every year for turning pro, if you like, in the fact that there's more spots available.
Yeah. So if we just jump to 1994, just looking at my notes, at the World Championship, you beat Cliff Thorburn. You came from 9-2 behind.
Yeah.
I don't know if it is a record, but it's definitely up there with records.
I think it's still the obviously for a first round match. I think it's still the biggest comeback in the history of the World Championship at the Crucible. Yeah.
Do you remember much about that match?
I just remember. I mean, Cliff played really, really well, but then for some reason, obviously Cliff was a bit, nicknamed the Grinder. It was a slow game. We got pulled off at 5-2. We got pulled off at I think then we got pulled off at 9-7. We might have even got pulled off at another time as well, or we got put back on at 9-7, and finished at like 1 a.m. But I just remember, it's not that Cliff didn't have chances. You know, I didn't play like perfect snooker that he didn't get any chances. He did have chances, but he just couldn't get over the line. And in a way, I suppose my game got stronger towards the end.
Yeah. Did you feel that there wasn't, when you're 9-2 down, when you're so far behind, did you feel that there wasn't really any pressure on you?
No, not really. I mean, at 9-2, you're still not expecting to win, but you always still try it.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, at 9-2, you're just trying to make the score look respectable.
Yeah. And were you aware that that would be Cliff's last time at the Crucible? Because that was the last.
And probably Cliff wasn't as well, you know. But that match probably, I don't know whether he dropped out of the 16 after that.
Yeah.
He probably did, or I think he dropped. I think he dropped out into the 32 anyway, because I think.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just say that I've been moved, and then we'll get back on with the question. Okay. Right, you've probably noticed that the background has now changed. They were setting up a party downstairs, so I've been moved to the kitchen to do the rest of this podcast, which is not ideal. So we were just talking about you playing Cliff Thorburn, where you came from behind. Were you aware that this was going to be his last appearance at the Crucible? Do you think Cliff was?
No, I mean, I don't know whether obviously he was a qualifier anyway, so he'd still have to qualify in years to come. Whether he dropped out the 32, I can't. I'm not quite sure. But it definitely, you know, the match obviously really, really hurt him, and he did play well against me at the start of the match. But like I say, he just couldn't get over the line. Like I said, at 9-2 down, I'm just trying to make the score look respectable.
Yeah. So at the next year's World Championship in 1995, where you were runner-up, you beat Stephen Lee, Alan McManus, Gary Wilkinson, and Andy Hicks.
Yeah.
And before losing to Stephen Hendry, who I think was a bit of a bogey player for yourself, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, I mean, he was a bogey player for everybody. You know, he pretty much dominated the game through the 90s. You know, won virtually every tournament. You know, in those 4 years at the Crucible, 93 and 94, I got to the quarters. 95, I got to the final. 96, I got to the semis. And each of those 4 years, he beat me. So, yeah, it was a bit of a nuisance. Cost me a few quid.
So, obviously, you were the winner of the 1996 Grand Prix.
British Open.
British Open, sorry. I don't know why I said Grand Prix. You beat John Higgins in the final.
Yeah.
You needed a snooker, didn't you, to win?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I pretty much, and John would be the first to admit that I pretty much dominated the game all day, really. And then, you know, John's such a good match player. Even his Plan B game is so good, and I just couldn't shake him off. And then, obviously, at the end, in the last frame, it looked like he'd got the better of me and got me beat. You know, having pretty much, as I felt, and obviously John's words as well, you know, that I was the better player on the day. But it looked like I was going to get beat. And then he did play a little bit of a funny shot where he made sure of a black and then left himself a more difficult shot into the middle pocket. And, you know, he missed that red. And obviously I got back in the game from that. Managed to get the snooker, you know, and win the tournament, which, you know, my only ranking event victory was, you know, the massive highlight of my career, really.
Yeah, well, it's a good highlight to have.
Yeah, that, and like I say, as well as the winning the World Championship, obviously winning the Scottish Masters in '97, you know, they're big events, and you know, they're the major highlights, really.
Yeah. So when you were pro, did you ever travel up and down the country with other players, or were you just you like to be by yourself traveling?
I went everywhere with my dad, to be honest.
Oh, right.
You know, my dad managed. He got early retirement, and pretty much myself and my dad. It was always me and my dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If he didn't go abroad that much. The odd occasion he did, and then obviously I'd still travel on my own, but we'd all, you all go on the same sort of flights, etc., and go out for drinks and meals, etc. when you're at the tournament, and mix with other players. But no, I just pretty much, like I say, it was just me and my dad really that travel around.
Okay. So who did you get on best with on the tour? Was there anyone that you became really
I mean, obviously Gary Wilkinson from Kirkby. He used to practice with Gary quite a bit. Same with Anthony Hamilton. You know, Anthony was based in Nottingham, so we practiced together every week. Darren Morgan from Wales.
Yeah.
You know, we became good friends from the amateur circuit, and then obviously been in the same stable. We became good friends, etc., and still are. You know.
Yeah.
So Michael Holt, and obviously latterly Michael Holt again from Nottingham. We practiced together a lot. So yeah, Mark Joyce. So they're the friend. Went to weddings and christenings and etc. away from snooker.
Yeah. So do you miss being on the main tour, or are you enjoying your retirement?
I would say probably you miss seeing other players and stuff like that. But to be honest, obviously since 2019 COVID, Players Lounge is not the same, because you have to keep a distance, you have to isolate, you have to, do a COVID test. And it's sad a little bit that, at the minute, the way the game is, I suppose. But I think, I'm 57, I've dropped off the tour, and it was the right time. It was the right time for me to do it. I'm still involved, obviously, with issues with the players' board, etc., and meetings and things like that. But it was the right time for me,
Okay, well, that's if you feel it was the right time, then no one's gonna argue.
There's no way I wanted to go back to Q school and think, to try and get my pro status back. It was the right time. 33 years is a long time.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So, but you do still play, because we had a senior event here in Tamworth that you entered. Do you enjoy?
Sadly, I was ill. Sadly, I was ill for the second event
on
the Sunday, which was a bit of a pain. But no, I'll still try and play in one or two events. I played in an ESB event as well at the Cue Ball in Derby. Got to the semis of that. But I will try and play in a few more events, and obviously just try and go and enjoy those events. No aspirations or anything like that. Just basically because I still want to compete, still love competing, and hopefully to do that.
Yeah. Obviously, you're still, like you said, you're still involved with the board and this and that, but you also got your level 2 coaching certificate. Just tell us a bit about that. Why you decided?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I actually got the old grade A level certificate back in 2006. But then in 2008, and so probably the last 10 years, I have been doing quite a lot of coaching, as well as playing on the tour, overseas. I worked with Mink from 2017 to 2019. So that meant maybe 7 or 8 trips to Thailand and work with her for a week, 10 days at a time. I'm going to Switzerland on next week, coaching over there Monday to Friday. So that should be good. I've never coached over there before. But in 2018, I was asked by Chris Lovell, who's head of coaching and development, to join the World Snooker coaching delivery team. So I do now deliver level 1, level 2, and also the new level 3 course we've just done the level 3 course, and that's still ongoing, which is a lot of work.
Yeah, I've heard that level
which is
3
more
is...
an advanced course.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoy being involved with the World Snooker delivery team. Yeah, that obviously now is my priority full time, and building the coaching up more and more now. It's good.
Do you have any advice for maybe someone that might be thinking that they might want to become a coach?
For somebody that wants to be a coach, I mean, obviously with the level, with the different levels with coaching, the level 1 is an entry level. So basically on the level 1 course, it's maybe for somebody that wants to start like a junior academy or a Saturday morning club for kids, etc. It's probably a good starting point. And you get obviously myself or Andrew Ifield deliver that course. Learning the basic techniques, how to different routines and games for kids to play. Say at a junior academy on a Saturday morning, which is a good starting point. If somebody's looking to get into coaching.
Yeah. This is a question that I thought of yesterday to ask you. You might take a bit of thinking though. If there was a Mount Rushmore of snooker, who would be your 4 players to go on
it? Stephen Hendry, Ronnie O'Sullivan, Mark Williams, John Higgins.
That was a quick answer. I thought it might take a bit more time than that.
No, them for me are obviously Hendry dominated the game during the 90s. I mean, Ronnie, is just a genius, and just the longevity of John Higgins, 4-time world champion, and same with Mark. Just incredible talent and bottle. Incredible match players.
So out of them 4 then, as you've named them 4, as your Mount Rushmore, who would you say is the greatest player of all time?
Ronnie. Obviously Ronnie, especially now he's equaled Stephen's record of 7 world titles, but more UKs, more Masters than anyone else, so more century breaks than anyone else, so there probably been no one ever like him again.
No, I agree. I don't think we'll ever see another Ronnie. Well, not in our lifetime, maybe.
No, unbelievable. The standard now is incredible.
So I've got a couple of questions. I'm guessing you know Colin Gross.
Colin Ross, yes. He emceed an exhibition that I did down in Eastbourne at the back end of last year.
He's asked if you still enjoy doing exhibitions.
Yeah, love doing exhibitions. Yeah. Love doing exhibitions, and it's still nice to be asked to do them.
Yeah. He did want me to give you a hug, but as we're not face to face, we'll just pretend that I gave you a hug from him.
Yeah.
Another question from my wife, actually, Christine. She wants to know if you've ever been on Big Break. She loved Big Break.
I did, yeah. I did quite a few shows,
Yeah.
Back in the day, and only once won the jackpot for the contestant, and I remember it because it was actually the first time I'd been on Big Break.
Yeah.
And I won the jackpot, or the star prize, or whatever you want to call it. I won the lady that was my contest partner, if you like. I won her holiday to Egypt, so that was nice.
It's a pretty good prize.
Yes, yeah.
So, was there a lot of pressure when you were doing that, knowing that you were playing someone else?
Yeah. Massive pressure, because obviously you got the TV cameras and the lights, etc., and you've only got that 60 seconds or whatever it is to pot as many balls as you can, and there's tremendous pressure, because you don't want to obviously, if the contestants getting their questions right, then you don't want to let them down. So important you pot all the balls if you can.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to put this out here now. If there's any producers of TV shows watching, bring back Big Break. We need.
I mean,
we need it back. Or
there is talk, isn't there? You know, everybody's talking about it and maybe bringing it back, but
we need it.
Whether it will happen, I don't know.
And I'm available at cheap price. So
yeah, me too.
We're both. There you go. New presenter, and you can be the new JV. We'll get that sorted at some point. So what cue do you use? I do ask all the people.
Mine's actually an old. It's a cue maker in Sheffield that used to make Sheridan cues, and I've had it for 35 years. I've never changed. It's had a little bit of work on it by John Paris when the wood split underneath the ferrule, and he did some more splicing into the butt. But apart from that, where some players will pick up cues and chop and change a little bit. I've always, I've had this one for 36 years. So 3 years, a couple of years before I turned pro, I got the cue, and all the way through my career.
So you never felt the need to change it, like you say?
No,
maybe
no, always happy with the cue that I've got. And you pick a cue up and you get used to how it throws, and it just becomes an extension of your arm. And as long as you're happy with it, it's nice and solid.
Yeah, just because you see a lot of players nowadays, they change the cue 3, 4.
Yeah,
5.
they do. Stephen Maguire and John Higgins has changed his cue a little bit. And
is there any rhyme or reason for that? If they just feel that it's just.
Maybe they think that cue's too whippy, they need a more solid cue, or it's down to, at the end of the day, people say to me, what cue should I buy? But I always say to them, just go and try a dozen. Go somewhere where you can try them and get a feel for one, and that's what I did. I got a feel for one, and that was the cue that I've got now is that's the one I picked, and I've stayed with it.
Yeah. What was I going to ask you? I was going to ask you something else. Just going back to your coaching, have you got any talents that you think could do well in the game? Any sort of up and coming prospects?
I'm not coaching anyone at the minute that's sort of on the verge of turning pro. Yeah. I think obviously out there are a good few young players, the likes of Stan Moody and Liam Pullen.
Yeah.
There's a boy that I am coaching who lives in Sunderland. He comes down every 6 weeks or something like that, and I have a session with him. He's just qualified. He got through the qualifying section of the English under 14s. He got through to the final, so he's got through to the next stage. His name's Niall Harrison. So I think he's only 12, 13. So and that was his first competitive event. So he did really well to qualify. So I mean, like I say, I coach all ages and abilities. So I don't mind either way, really.
Cool. So last question that I ask everyone that's on the podcast, you might have to think about it, but what's your funniest story, like snooker story?
I suppose there's a few, really. I mean, we used to play a tournament out in Alex Higgins was my hero when I was younger, and I always wanted to go and watch him at the Crucible. And we played the Dubai Duty Free Classic every year. We always used to have a break before the quarterfinals. There was always a break, and they always used to arrange a game of golf on the Emirates Golf Club, playing on their members, and I got to play with Alex. But it was funny because it's so hot. Obviously, it's so hot over there. There was a watering hole after every hole, and basically it was a bottle of beer for Alex, and he was obviously just getting more and more inebriated, if you like, and he was driving the buggy, so you can imagine the buggy was all over the place, and I thought he was going to tip it up. I was hanging on for dear life. But yeah, a few stories really. I mean, me and Gary Wilkinson years back went to Zimbabwe and did some exhibitions over there, and that was just crazy. We took a 1-year-old lamb for a walk, and just like things that you think, how's that happen? We just played snooker, and these sort of things. Crazy things happen, and done a safari in a Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
It was just crazy, but yeah, it was good times.
Cool. Right, before I sign off, I'm just going to do a little thing that we call the shameless plug, which is where I just shamelessly plug things that happen at the club. So we've got pool tournament on February the 19th.
Yeah.
Which we've got spaces available for. So if anyone wants to enter, just get in touch with the club or myself, and we'll sort you out. We've got the Pro-Am on Sunday the 5th. I don't know if this will be out before then, but if it is, I have got a couple of spaces left. I don't know if you might be interested in entering that, Nigel, if you're free.
Right.
Yes, no, maybe?
It's a maybe at the minute. It's a maybe.
I'll pester you. I like to pester.
Yeah, I'm in Switzerland until next Friday the 3rd.
I remember you saying, actually, yeah.
Yeah, I'm in Switzerland till the 3rd next week. So if you've got spaces, that I can always get in touch with you towards the last minute,
Yeah. I'm always available.
Sure.
And we've also got Tamworth Queues located in the club, as I'm sure most of you are aware of. We sell queues, cases, etc. So if you're ever in need of anything, just pop down to the club, talk to myself or whoever's on, we can get you sorted. So that's my shameless plug done. Until
Very
next
good.
time. So I'm going to say thank you to Mr. Bond for joining us.
Thank you.
Give us a wave, Nigel. If you can't, there we go. Thank you very much. So thank you for watching.
All right.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me on. Cheers.
And next week, I'm hoping we've got Clive Brown on. So,
okay, nice one. Yeah.
I'm guessing
Clive from the ESB days, yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully he'll be here next week having a chat with myself.
Okay.
We'll say bye-bye and thank you for watching.
Thank you very much, Mark.
And we'll see you soon.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.